Hi everybody, my name is FPL Josh and welcome to my channel. This is going to be my first channel of my series, so I hope you guys enjoy. Today we're going to be talking about my wildcard, game week 14, and my free premium assets for the season that I think I'm probably going to hold on to the way it's going. So we're going to be talking about this in depth, and let's get on with it. So to start off, we have got Aaron Ramsdale, which he's had great start to the season, 2 clean sheets. Yes, you've got that one non-clean sheet, but with the way last week was, with how bad the game week went, I was so happy he kept the clean sheet for me. So he nailed it at the park by a mile. And then fixture-wise, he's got a great next, I'd say 6 fixtures. Because I don't think Tottenham would beat Spurs personally, and then that's probably when my Spurs centre-backs will be out. But we'll talk to that in depth in a minute. And then obviously you've got the Everton, the Brentford game. So I think he's generally just solid. He's been performing. He's been getting saves. I think if Arsenal concede a penalty, and then obviously he'll save it, I reckon. The way he's playing, he's just phenomenal. And I can't see a better player. So Aaron Ramsdale is the pick for me. Obviously, we are going to get into that a bit more in depth in a minute. Well, let's move to Ivan Perisic. Sorry, I keep clicking the right clip by mistake. Right, let's move on to Perisic. He had a great week last week with a 12-pointer and assist. He did get a flick on assist, which went from a flick off Son onto him, which then he flicked it into Kane, which it was a bit of a lucky-ish goal and a dodgy goal from the assist, but I reckon with his attacking returns, I expect good things from Perisic and a lot of attacking returns, a lot of assists, especially against Nottingham Forest and West Ham in the weeks to come. Fulham's a great game too. Man City, obviously, I probably won't be playing him that game unless I want to take a punt, but it's a possibility depending on how City are looking. And then Leicester I'll play him, but Arsenal I won't. But then Bournemouth, Everton and Man United I will. So he's only going to miss 2 games in the next 3 weeks in, so like 11 games. Yeah, so it's quite good. But I think he's a great option, to be honest. I think if you want a more safer, secure option, you go for this guy who I've got here, Emerson Royale. First game week, obviously, we can't really go off that. That was just him playing phenomenal, 2 assists. But the fact he's got a clean sheet last week, and I saw in the Spurs-Chelsea game some possibility of him getting some assists that game when I was watching it. And I thought he could have got assists last game too. I think he's phenomenal, and he will be staying in my side for 3 games. Definitely. And then I'll probably sub him out for Trippier, depending on how the games go. But he's solid for me right now, and I think I'm taking a punt with it. For me, I recommend this guy, but obviously it's my punt, and I'm going to take it. And I don't think you should take it unless you want to take a little bit of a risk. I think Perisic is more of a secure option. I just think they're both going to get attacking returns against Nottingham Forest and West Ham and Fulham. So I think I'm okay to take that risk. And if anyone's going to ask in the comments why I've got no Arnold or no Robertson in there, it's because I just don't like Liverpool. I know they've got Bournemouth next game, but then they've got Newcastle, and then a couple of game weeks from then, you're moving into the Arsenal games, the Tottenham games, the City games. And I just don't want to own Liverpool players around that period. And I think double Man City at the back is more secure than Liverpool. So this is why I'm going to go with these kind of players right now. And then let's move into João Concello. He's obviously had West Ham first game. They've won 2-0. He got a clean sheet. He went into the Bournemouth game and managed to bag an assist. So he's been performing really well. Obviously, last week was a real disappointment for every single manager who owned like your base players, the people everyone's got, these set players that people rely on. And then obviously you've got the people who are really lucky and have gone out and had like players like Zaha, Martin Odegaard, Rodrigo and Harrison, and all of these players mixed into one in their team and score like 80, 90 points. But for me, I don't want to sound offensive this way. You've got to have a really rubbish team who have scored loads of points last week. Where the actual baseline teams, like everyone's got 5 at the back, 4 at the back. You know, Tony, Martinelli, J Zeus, Concello, Robertson, Perisic. Those are the players that will score you more points long term. So I think don't rush out of Arnold or Robertson against Bournemouth unless you think it's a great move. But for me, I'd hold them this game week. See how they do against Bournemouth and then move into City if it goes bad. But I'm just moved into City because I've wildcarded and I would need to look longer term. So this is more a case of I've wildcarded, you need to look longer term than just 2 games. But if you can risk having Arnold for that Bournemouth game, I reckon he probably could return with an assist. I just don't want to risk that game week personally. When you've got Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Villa, then Wolves after Tottenham for Man City, and then obviously Man U. And then you've got a Southampton game. Look, the fixtures are looking great. Apart from these two and the Tottenham game, I'm quite sure I get a clean sheet in every one of them. Even as a Man U fan, I think until we actually turn our team around and get our team properly sorted and better players and get more gelled in our team, and we start putting the younger players on the pitch more often than players like Harry Maguire, we will start to play better. But it's all a wait and see game. Credit to Ten Hag though, that 2-1 victory over Liverpool was insane. So I'm really praising him for that, and I hope he does better and it keeps going. And then next we'll move on to Kyle Walker. There's a lot of conspiracy about this right now, because obviously Pep did announce Haaland was obviously missing, going to be possibly rotated. And then a lot of people were thinking at the same time when he said that Walker and the likes of your left backs and stuff are going to be rotated for Man City. But there's no one else who could replace Walker, where there's Ake and Diaz and Stones that could be rotated between each other. So I think for me, Concello and Walker are nailed on no matter what. I don't think they'll get rotated. And he's 9 points cheaper than Diaz. And Diaz wasn't even going to start last game until Ake got injured. And Walker starts every game. He has got the possibility of an attack and return at some point too. I liked the possibility of him getting an attack and return last game. And I thought he looked great the whole game. Obviously, there was a bit of a crap show with Man City at the back of that game. It was all over the shop when Stones was in. And I don't rate Stones. So I think he probably might change that back to Diaz next week. But maybe Stones out for one of the younger players. Obviously, Ake's injured because he's got a groin injury. So he could be out 2 to 8 weeks at this moment, depending on how bad his injury is. But looking at the fixtures, like I said, with Concello, he's just an easy clean sheet. So I'm going to rate him for that game. So I think is a great buy for you guys. So I'd recommend Kyle Walker personally. Obviously, we could go in a lot of depth about this guy and talk about this guy, but he's returned 2 8-point weeks and a 6-point week in the first 3 games. Martinelli is a must-have. I remember having him at the start of the game, and he was like 11% owned, and then he's all of a sudden gone up to 41%. Because everybody started getting him in the team. Now, I think he's the best midfielder in the game right now. I'd rate him more than Salah at the minute, the way he's playing. Obviously, we've still got Salah, who will score goals and stuff, but I think they're playing just as good. And for like half the price of Salah, he's amazing. Obviously, I can never get rid of Salah out my team, but it's one of them. I think Salah might eventually go to De Bruyne, or Haaland will go in midfield. I'll sell Haaland out to bring in De Bruyne in midfield and possibly a Mitrovic. But that's looking if Haaland gets rotated, which I don't think he's going to get rotated in the next 3 games, so I might take a punt and hold him. I think these games are nice. I won't be playing any Arsenal defence on my wildcard deliberately because there's a Man U game, Tottenham, Liverpool, Leeds, City. You know, I still think these players will score goals in those games, but I don't want to play centre-backs when I think they'll concede, if that makes sense. So I might take a risk and possibly take Emerson out for Salah at some point, but bench him for Trippier, depending on how the next couple of games go. But I need a bit more information than 3 game weeks to decide that. But in the next 5 games, he's got 4 great games, like I said, with everyone else. He's doing great, like I said with Martinelli, so I think he's solid Martinelli and a great pick. And if we move on to Salah, he's obviously had 12 points first game week, and then he blanked and got 2. But then he did score a goal against Man U against us last game on Monday, which was quite a nice goal, which did manage to bag him 22 points altogether this season. I think the Bournemouth game's nice. Newcastle, I'm unsure about. So that'll be a if I captain him that game, it'll probably be J Zeus against Villa, I'd recommend. Everton, I'll captain him. Wolves, I'll probably captain him. Chelsea, obviously, I won't captain him, and I'll probably captain J Zeus that week. Or Haaland, depending on fixtures. And then obviously it comes down here and it gets a bit tougher, but he's still the best captain, best player in the game for FPL, best FPL asset, and he's definitely one of my top 3. And if we're going to move on to my second FPL asset, surprisingly, Haaland is not my top 3 asset this season. I think Rodrigo has been my top 3 player for me, assets-wise, this season, bagging me 35 points this season in total. I had him from the start. Obviously, I did have him last week because I did hit the free hit. and it did go a bit sideways with like a 53 pointer, so it was a bit of a teared up one, but he's been great, absolutely phenomenal. He got me a 7 point and 15 points. Obviously, I didn't have his 13 points last week, but he's got to be my top asset. And if you look at the Brighton, yes, it's a really hard fixture. Maybe he'll score. He could blank that game, so I'm taking a real risk. But then you put him against Everton, I reckon he'll score banging goals, maybe 2-3 goals. Brentford, I've got obviously Tony up front, which we'll talk about in a minute. So they're both obviously going to score goals against each other that game, I reckon. So I could see a 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw. Forest, I think he'd absolutely battle them. Man United, obviously I'm going to hope we're winning because we're a Man United fan, so I might take him out of that game just because of my pride, but I'd recommend having him in because I reckon he'll score against us if I take him out, knowing my luck. And then obviously Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, great fixtures. Crystal Palace are looking good though with Zaha, so it's one of those things where you've got to look at the game week, see how it goes, and I might be transferring him into a Zaha depending on how it goes. But Zaha's fixtures aren't really good till after game week 12, so maybe look at that game week 16. But he's a great one for me, so definitely someone you need in your team. And then let's move on to my third asset, which is going to be Gabrielle J Zeus. I think he's an absolutely outstanding player. 25 points. Obviously, he had a 4-point last week and a 2-point the first week when everyone was captaining him, so it was a bit of a annoying week when I captained him week 1. But then for him to go around and turn 19 points the second week, I had Haaland as my captain. So I was debating Jesus and Haaland. I changed it to Haaland last minute from Jesus. And my face on the weekend was hilarious because I told you this, every single year I play this game, I will captain someone the week before. And then be like, oh yeah, I'm going to captain them this week because I still think it's good. Switch them last minute. And then they go and literally get a massive haul. And then my face is hilarious because they've just got a 19-point haul like Jesus. And I can't see him doing that again this season. Maybe a 15-point haul, but I can't see 19 again. So I think I have missed a boat on that one. I mean, there could be a possibility against the Aston Villa game here. But it just all depends on how good they play. But Arsenal, I think, will beat Villa easily 4-0. Everton, I could see a 6-0 win. And I'm just going to throw some scores out here now because I think Everton suck this season. No offence to Everton fans, your team really needs to get it together. I know I'm talking from a Man United perspective here, but at least we've won a game. Because I think the way you're playing right now is just, it's horrific. Brentford, I think, is playing great, though. And I think that's a really tough game to judge. But I really do like Jesus, like I said, so he's definitely my top 3 asset. Now, if we move on to Ivan Toney, which is so phenomenal. 8 points, 9 points, 8 points. Consistent points every week. Last week, he could have had a hat-trick, but 2 goals were denied. So he could have had a hat-trick, but 2 goals were denied offside, which, controversially, I think only one of them was offside personally. So it was a controversial that week. But he's been phenomenal. And I think Everton, I could see a hat-trick that game, like I said, with Everton. And Crystal Palace, I think he'll play good, maybe a goal or 2. Leeds, I think maybe a goal for Rodrigo and maybe a goal or 2 for Tony. I think he'll get maybe a couple goals against Southampton, even though Southampton are looking good with Ward-Prowse. Arsenal, obviously, I bank on it. Arsenal win like 3-1 and he maybe scores a goal. Bournemouth, I think Brentford will win like 2-1, 3-1. Newcastle, I think Newcastle will probably win that game like 2-1. But there is opportunities for him to score, and Brighton, I don't know. It's hard to predict that game. And then if we move on to my other asset, which is Haaland from Haaland. He got 13 points the first week, and there's a funny story. I had Kane in the first week, and then obviously, first week was terrible. Had a 2-pointer off Kane. Had 4 points. Haaland when I scored 13. I changed Haaland out to Kane last minute. Thinking, okay, I'm going to use my safe FPL asset like I always do and use Kane. And it just really went bad. And then obviously I had him from that game because I transferred Kane out into him straight away, and he had a 5-pointer and a 6-pointer. So he's not really done a lot for me at this minute. And I just think De Bruyne has got the same points as Haaland, well, 1 more, and he's just doing more attacking. I think he's getting more balls through. There's loads of times where I think he should have scored or should have got more assists. I see De Bruyne being a great asset, but I don't want to drop off Haaland where everyone else has got him. So if I drop off him that 1 week and he scores a hat-trick, I'm just scared of letting loose of him, so I will hold him. Especially for these fixtures coming up. He's either not going to start the Forest fixture or not the Villa fixture, but I think he'll start these 2 fixtures and just not play the Villa fixture. Because he'll save him, I think, rest him the Villa fixture, play him Tottenham fixture, rest him the Wolves fixture, but then play him the Man United fixture, and then rest him and then play him the harder fixtures. That's how I think Pep's rotation will go. But it's hard to judge at the minute. But I mean, if you look in the next games, look, there's so many greens. There's 5 greens in those 7 games there, which is just great. And obviously you have got these 2, which are hard. But I still think Man City will beat Liverpool with Liverpool's defence. Arsenal, I think I could see a draw that game, maybe 2-2, 3-3. Big scoring game. And if we move on to the bench, we have Robert Sanchez from Brighton. Now, Brighton are so good. Honestly, they're phenomenal. They have conceded the least amount of goals this season. I just don't see how you can't go Brighton. Yes, we scored 1 against them. But the fact that Pascal Gross scored 2 that first game, I mean, he had 4 points first game, then a 6-pointer, then an 8-pointer. He had 4 points, even though he conceded, which is still really good. So he's been phenomenal. And I think when you get past this Leeds game, I will be playing him like these Fulham games, and then these Bournemouth games, and then these Crystal Palace games. He will be coming in for Ramsdale on the harder games that Ramsdale has to play. So like game week 11, when Ramsdale's got a really tough team, like Liverpool or Man City, or whatever it was, I'll play him at Brentford, or obviously 12 at Nottingham Forest and all. He's a great goalkeeper. Whereas I'd probably have him as my starting goalkeeper, but I just don't want to let go of Ramsdale because of my personal preference, so it's one of those for me. And if we move on to Kieran Trippier, everyone benched him last week, and I decided, no, I'm not going to bench him. I'm going to play him against City and see how it goes on my free hit. Only gone and got me a goal and got 6 points. He got more than literally my Trent, my Concello, my James combined. He got more points. That's how bad that game week was last week. And I think everyone can relate to how much of a bad game week. But we will move forward. We will progress. And we're not going to do anything daft or stupid yet. We're just going to progress with what we've got and work on it. And I think Wolves, great. But I think I was looking at it, and the possibility of a double game week, which I don't think it is worrying me. That I might have to obviously select picks that are good for both weeks. So for both games, sorry. So I'm looking into it, but he will be my starting game week if it's a single game week. But I need you boys' response in the comments. I'm still unsure about that. Because when I'm looking on the FPL app, it's showing there's a Monday game, a Tuesday game, a Wednesday, and a Thursday, as well as a Saturday, Sunday. But obviously Brentford are playing a Saturday, and then they're also playing in the week, and then they're playing the next week on the weekend. So it makes me think it's a double game week. But it's probably a cup or something, and it's me just being paranoid about it, probably. The Silva was good until he only got me 1 point. When I brought him in last week, he got 1 point. But the other games, he's been great. He's a great bench option. What can I say? He's just a Silva. 4.6 mil. Obviously, you can go and get Reed and Pereira, which is probably a better option. But I don't want to not have De Silva for when like Brentford have got Everton. I could possibly play him. But it's still unpredictable at the minute what I'm going to play. But I think this will be my main team. And he could possibly slot in for Emerson last minute. Or Trippier would slot in for Emerson. That's the only really changes I would make for my team this week. And then if we move on to Andreas, which I've had from the start. Obviously, I didn't have him in my team last week. And he got an 8-pointer, so I weren't very happy. But looking on fixtures-wise, obviously this is tough. This is tough. The next 4 games are tough, and then he's got 1 good game. Then the 6 games tough. 7th, 8th, 9th game are great. So that'd be like the time I'd bring in Mitrovic for Tony, when Tony's fixtures get harder. But this is my team, and I have had 182 points in the first 3 weeks with a rank at the minute of 1,635,782 currently. But for me, that's my team. This has been a great video, guys, and I hope you enjoy. And if you want me to create more of these videos in a week, just drop me a follow, drop me a comment. If you need any advice, I will respond to every comment about my team. And if you've got any criticism or anything you think I should change, I love people to tell me if there's anything wrong with my team and they can improve on, which is really helpful. But I will see you guys in the next one. This has been FPL Josh. I hope you have an amazing day. Peace.